Everybody, we're here for a new episode of the show that has yet to be named. We are reviewing Hawkeye, the series. It's a show on Disney Plus about hawks and eyes, and it's an animal show. So we'll just get into this. And as usual, I'm not going to do any explaining, and Johnny Donuts will explain what the show's about.
Okay. It's a show about one of the Avengers, Hawkeye. He's one of the few Avengers without any superpowers. Basically, take the Green Arrow and you have Hawkeye, except he's purple. And he basically fights foes. I would consider Hawkeye, comic book wise, Hawkeye is more of a street level hero as opposed to a big on like Iron Man or Thor. In the comic books, I would put him more along the lines like a Daredevil or a Punisher or even a Spider-Man, which is like a street level hero. He's not like this in the comics. It's not like this big super guy, right? So he's a very street level, no superpowers, but uses his wits and his amazing aim.
All right. Well, that's nice. I'm here, by the way, with Johnny Donuts and Putty. And we'll open this up with a no spoiler, quick little review, and then we're going to unload full spoilers. We'll let you know when. Don't worry. So what thoughts going into this spoiler free?
I was super hyped going into it because of the fact that they were going to follow the Matt Fraction Asia Comics storyline, right? So I was super hyped about it. We talked about it on a previous episode of our MCU prediction, right? So this is one of the shows I was really looking forward to, for me at least.
Yeah, I would have to say the same thing. One of my favorite, maybe top 5 for sure, favorite Marvel runs of all time. Yeah,
it has to be, yeah.
It's so different and it's so well written, and I was super excited. Did it pay off? I don't know. We'll get to that in a second, but I mean, it adapted a lot of things well from the comic. Buddy, anything?
I mean, I agree. I also disagree at some point, but again, we'll get to that when we get to the spoiler. No, I enjoyed it. I mean, I also consider it a major part of Kate Bishop's origin story. So a lot of things had to be done from that series issue, or contingency, if you want to call it, when it comes to the series. And of course, she is named Hawkeye in the comics, but that's another thing we'll get into later. But yeah, I mean, it was okay. It was good. I'm not saying it's the best in my eyes Marvel series on Disney Plus, for sure. There were some things I felt like they could have done or would have done, but again, maybe it's based on restrictions, things of that nature. So I enjoyed it. I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy it, but again, it just makes me more excited for what's to possibly come, depending on which way they go. That's more of the problem I have is if they're going in a direction that I want, then I'm super excited and I'm glad this existed. But if it's not going to pay off later, then I might be a little disappointed.
I would kind of agree with that. It's a good launching point for the continuation of basically the character development of Kate Bishop. Mm-hmm. And it's a good launching point for her. It wasn't focused just on Hawkeye. It was focused more on the relationship between Hawkeye and Kate Bishop. And that's what I really like, the dynamic between the two.
So, yeah, I agree. I think the chemistry between the cast was very well done. The comedy worked very well from every character in the whole show. Mm-hmm. The characters were pretty well written and handled. I think the story left a lot to be desired, especially when it departed from being like the Matt Fraction run, which does happen a lot. Like most of the story is from it, but the main goal of where they're trying to get to, the final plot of this, has nothing to do with the comic. And and as you start to get there, it slowly spiderwebs way off course.
It's the relationship, I think, with Echo more than anything.
Echo's not even in the comic, is she?
No, Echo, no. The whole subplot with Echo, that's actually a Daredevil storyline.
Yeah. Well, see, that's another thing why I say the continuation, because you're seeing the Matt Fraction series storyline here. You're seeing Echo Maya's storyline. You're also seeing Kate Bishop's storyline, and even Eleanor Bishop's storyline in some ways, even though it's very minute. And but she's, again, that's the reason why I'm stating there's a lot that's going on, and you could tell they jam-packed a lot of storylines from the comics into one story, and they tried to do it in a way, because you got to remember there's also Maya's story that's connected with someone else that I won't get into because I'll consider spoilers.
Yeah.
So my thing is if they, again, that's the reason why I say if all the payoffs for each character does come up and it does do it properly, which I have some theories when we get into the spoiler things about those, then yeah, I'm
as long as it doesn't involve mutants.
Yeah, right. Well, see, none of these really need to involve mutants. That's the problem. And that, well,
but he wants to get there, but it's never going to get there.
No, this one, no, that's the thing, though.
Yeah, this one you can't.
Yeah, you can't. There's no reason to in the first place anyway. See, I said our last show, I talked about mutants. Yes, I want mutants in the MCU if you do it properly. And again, I'm always going to use Scarlet Witch, aka Wanda, as a prominent because she's a mutant in the comics. You know what I mean? And these characters, none of that's even there. So of course, they joke with me, but yeah, that's the truth. Mutants have nothing to do with these characters, so there's never going to be a whole thing like, oh, I need this. No, I'm not going to do that because as a fan, I don't want that to happen. So
okay, so well, just let's just wrap this up for this part. What would you give it a rating out of 10? Would you recommend this show?
You want to go?
I'd recommend it. It's a fun watch. It wasn't it wasn't gangbusters, but it fits nicely into that Marvel, I guess, TV show pantheon. Rating it, I would give it about somewhere 7 to a 7.3
on your donut scale. Though
on my donut scale, it's probably an 8.5 out of 12 on my donut scale.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I'm loving all the series on Disney Plus. I have no problem with them and everything, as long as they lead into something properly. Which they had a problem before with the Netflix series leading into the proper thing. And now we're kind of starting to see that. You know what I mean? Like it's like feel like they're fixing those holes and everything. So if this pays off, then yes, this show in my numbers would be like a 7 out of 10. You know what I mean? If it doesn't pay off, then I go back and change the number because I need the payoff in order for this to be successful in my eyes. If this is not going to get the payoff, then this goes down to a 5 because then you're not giving me what I'm expecting to happen based on what I've already seen, if that makes sense. Because don't set up something, make me think it's going to happen, and then all of a sudden
they are setting up, but I don't think they're setting up what you're expecting. Like, we'll discuss that.
We'll get into that when we get there, because I have an argument for you on that. But I'd say because it's only 6 episodes and it's a very quick, like the feeling of every episode goes by very fast. It's a fast,
very easy watch. Yeah,
it's an easy watch. I definitely recommend checking it out, especially if you like Marvel superheroes. I'd say I'd give it probably like a 7.2, 7.3, like 7.25, something around there. It's a good watch. It's nothing special. I expected more as a fan of the comic run. I didn't get that, but I still got something that was worthwhile, and I think you should check it out. Anyways, we're opening up the floor here. Complete spoilers. So if you just came for no spoilers, go away now. All right, so
because on my end, big red letters spoilers right now, guys.
Right?
Big red letters, yeah. So.
Okay, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't care.
So
everybody, just for you, Putty, like I don't think it's fair to put your expectations on the rating of the show.
No, I get that. I understand that. The thing is you have to understand. There's now a common thing when it comes to MCU that these are all expanding based on already stuff that's already out there and as well as what's going to happen. It's an expectation. That's Disney and Marvel's fault. They've done that. Like you can't just blame me. That's the truth. That's how we expect these things to happen. Like, for example, like Falcon and the Winter Soldier with him becoming Captain America. It's just something that you're expecting to happen because that's what they're setting up for. You know what I mean? They set it up in Endgame, and then we got that outcome in Falcon Winter Soldier. Same thing.
It's still the best series so far on the Disney Plus.
Well, I mean,
that's another episode.
Yeah, that's another episode because we can, we can agree, disagree, or like that. I love it. Don't get me wrong. It's just that, but my whole thing is this: there's so many characters that are involved in this that have plot lines that split off into so many great stories that can be made into this. And a big thing now that we're in spoiler territory is like with bringing back Kingpin was a big deal, which we needed. You know what I mean? But this also with Eleanor as well. This also brings up Madame Mask that can come into storyline,
which I don't think that's going to happen.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't know if it
that
is
won't
something
happen.
I love. Well, the reason I state that is because of one reason. The reason I feel like Madame Mess could happen is because remember Eleanor Bishop's storyline on the whole thing about her being a vampire, and then we are getting Blade, and then of course we're getting Morbius, and Morbius' story apparently is going to be split off into a multiverse situation.
Yeah, but Morbius will have nothing to do with the MCU.
No, I get it. I'm aware of that. I'm just saying that we still have Blade. You know what I mean? So I'm saying that that's possible, but I'm not going to focus more on Eleanor. I'm just using that as an example of something that they could do, but that is more shadowed. When you have someone like Kingpin, which is a dominant character within the Daredevil comics, within the Spider-Man comics, within just a lot of storylines, you know, and you're bringing them back from the Daredevil series, there's going to be a common thing of like, oh, is this it? Because the thing is, the way they ended it, they didn't show him actually getting shot. It literally was off camera, giving it away like he could have snatched the gun to change everything.
They're going on the Echo storyline where she shoots him and she blinds him.
That's where I was going to. But then also there's another thing that I can't say for another thing that's in the MCU that would also connect another character that's big with Kingpin, which also could bring that character into the Echo
Well, I mean, we can't
storyline.
say it because he's said that he's coming back for at least 5 series on this, and that's Charlie Cox.
Okay. Well, see,
so he said it. Kevin Feige even said, moving forward, Charlie Cox is Daredevil in the MCU. And yes, this could connect to the Echo series. I could see Daredevil being in the Echo series and being in the She-Hulk series.
Yes, so that connects all that there nicely, which also, of course, we already know. Well, I guess, do they really, I remember now, did they actually state that Kingpin killed Maya's father?
Or yes, they did state it in the show.
Yeah, I didn't know. I couldn't remember if they did or not. Or anything. Because I know it happened in the
that scene where they're fighting at the parking lot, and what's his name? Jeremy Renner says to Maya, "Your boss is the one that killed your father, not me."
That's right. Okay, yeah, he did say that. Okay, but like for example, like we don't have Clown in there anymore. That pretty much seems like he's cut and that dry. That was just a minor character. That's fine. I wasn't expecting really. He wasn't really a major character even in the comic books. But my whole point to the whole thing is that's my point right there with Maya, with the Daredevil, with Kingpin, even possibly Eleanor Bishop, if they, because again they put her.
You're missing one major one right there, and I thought they wasted the great. He's a great actor, Tony Dalton, who played Jacques Duquesne, the swordsman.
Oh, swordsman, okay.
Hawkeye's mentor, and they wasted that character until the last episode.
Well, here's the reason why I was confused. I actually, when I saw that he was part of the line, I thought maybe they were going to show the backstory of Hawkeye in his circus world. You know what I mean? Doing all that. We got no hint to that at all. So that's the reason why when Swordsman came into play, I thought maybe he'd know him. He acted like, it felt like the Sabretooth and Wolverine thing in the first X-Men, where it was like,
where they didn't know each other. Exactly. I feel Swordsman was the wasted character in that series. They could have done so much more with him.
So my question is, did they introduce him just to introduce him? And for nothing else, like for fan service?
I don't know what it is.
No, because I think, what's his name from the Eternals there? Black Knight. He's going to have something to do with Jacques Duquesne.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they're doing something with Black Knight, Kit Harington's character.
That's right. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay, so anyways, back to this. I got to say, from my end, no to everything both of you said. Kingpin should not have been in this show. The end reveal of the last episode when she gets arrested should be them finding the picture of her working with Kingpin that leads into something else. The use of Kingpin in this was out of place. It was wasted, and you goofed him immediately by shooting him in the chest with an arrow and having him just pull it out like I'm invincible. Because in this universe, Kingpin is human. Why would you do that? He's not impervious to arrows. So that didn't make any sense. But then he got shot and then he's hurt now. So
But the explosion didn't do anything to him.
That's what I mean. And that's fine. But you could have just not had him here and nobody would have noticed. You could have teased him with the picture and it would have been like, holy crap, this is where we're going. Maya flopped way too easily to the other side. She literally killed her best friend.
To quote a wrestling term, she turned baby face immediately.
Yeah, and killed her best friend.
Yeah,
that's kind of how I felt about the Yelena thing too. I feel like they did that a little too
That was too quick too with Yelena.
Yeah, that whole
like, I don't believe you. Okay, I believe you now.
Yeah, you said one thing that my sister had comment, like, how do I not know you didn't torture that? I got that on my sister another way. You know what I mean?
This
like,
is my thing though. Even with more time, they would have still had that conclusion. It would have went to like the whistle or a name that she used to call her or something like that.
It was just the same situation. It was just so quick. You should have let it into like another season of
I
Hawkeye.
I already know what's going to happen here. Hawkeye's going to get a season 2. It's going to have Kate Bishop. And then, oh no, Yelena's going to come back, and it's going to be Kate Bishop and Yelena for the whole show. And
she's the new Black Widow, basically.
They're going to erase Clint, and the new dynamic, because everyone loves it, is going to be her and Yelena, and it's going to be a Hawkeye series, and Hawkeye's going to go back to the Avengers.
Yeah, kind of like a little mini Young Avengers versus Dark Avengers kind of thing.
Sort of thing, right? And that's what they're going to do with that for sure. The Echo series is happening, and I completely agree with you guys. They're gonna do the opposite of what Marvel normally does, and they're gonna do what the Netflix shows does. And Maya is going to be the connecting link between all of the shows people, because there's like a group of people that are show and a group of people that are movies. Yes, Hawkeye and yes, WandaVision got shows, but they are movie characters. These other people are show characters. She-Hulk, they're all show characters.
And what I feel like they're trying to do now is they're trying to go back to what they were trying to do with the Daredevil series, with Daredevil, with Jessica Jones, and do that whole connection and start connecting things, but not in a way that seems convoluted or so quickly. Because it felt like in the Netflix series they were trying to do it so fast because they were just trying to get straight to the Defenders, and it didn't feel right. You know what I mean?
I can almost
Jones as Iron Fist was terrible.
Yeah, I know. I agree.
I can almost guarantee that if not in She-Hulk, in season 2 of Hawkeye, you're going to get Jessica Jones 100%. Because
she was the only fan favorite.
I swear she's in a really like prominent run of She-Hulk. Jessica Jones and her do something together, like investigating somebody, because she's a detective.
Right. She's the PI, and that's how you interconnect Matt Murdock too, because he's also a lawyer.
Yeah.
And also,
go.
No, I was going to say also, I did want to bring up too, I don't know if this has changed subject, but when we were going back to the whole Matt Fraction series, as I was watching it and I started seeing the Ronin connection come in, because I knew there's both the Matt Fraction series and the Ronin story are two different separate stories. You know what I mean? And so to see that they use the videotape, quote unquote, with the Matt Fraction series, and instead of being the videotape, it was the whole Ronin thing. That was cool, but it felt like it lost something that the Matt Fraction series, because the little jokes about like the car, when they didn't use the car from the comic book, but they made a joke as us fans saying, "Hey, look, we know the car's there," but it's part of Hawkeye's storyline as far as that being his vehicle. You know what I mean? So I like that they hinted at this stuff, but like that's another thing we always see in the MCU, and why, again, you might be right, JD, about the Eleanor Bishop situation. That they might not change it, but I'm always wanting to say, hey, I'm throwing this out there, and the reason I'm doing that is because what if I am right and they do that? Because we're getting more vampire. We're gonna be getting more. Yeah, exactly. But we're gonna soon get a lot of vampire stories in there. You know what I mean? So adding another.
But Eleanor's not a vampire.
In the comic book, she is.
She is, but she's not a vampire now, so I don't think they're going that route.
But they could have.
But either way, I get what you're saying.
That's just me. Let's talk about a plot hole nobody brought up. The fact that in the end of Black Widow, in the post credits, it was Elaine that told Yelena that this is the guy that killed your sister. But in the show, they say it was Eleanor Bishop that hired Yelena.
But maybe Eleanor went to.
Valentina
went to Valentina to hire a hit person. She probably didn't have direct contact with.
Okay.
Or at the same time, Kingpin could have been one that recommended her. Remember, she does work for Kingpin in the comic books too. You know what I mean? So she could have been the recommended by her. Through
it's just sources, you know what I mean? They could have done a better job explaining that.
Oh, I know, but that's the whole problem. That's again, like I said, I have a conversation with some of my viewers whenever this happens. Is there's such a convoluted change in things that as a fan of the comic books, I like that it's changed. But sometimes then what happens is that when they're taking the source material, they'll leave a little plot hole that for everyone else that doesn't make a bit of difference. But then because you know it, you're filling in the gaps, but then those gaps are never filled in, which still makes plot holes, even though other people don't see it, if that makes sense. So it's such a frustrating thing that it happens throughout the MCU, but they're pretty good about
a big issue I have with the show is in the comic, they do a lot of things that are kind of like, so it's mostly focused around the building, right?
Yep.
And they do a lot of things. I don't know if you finished reading them all yet, Putty, but let's just
I read them.
Like, when they fight AIM or when they fight things, they go away.
No, I haven't gotten there.
It's a departure from their safe space, but they go to those places and they do those things, and that's different. But when there's stakes that happen at the building, it's very high stakes. Everyone's going to die. In this show, I never once felt ever like the stakes were high.
No. And that's the problem, though.
The stakes were high for one person, which was Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Who had the 3 people after him. But they weren't that high, but I mean, I could have seen the MCU killing him off.
See, that's the problem. I feel like, and a lot of people have said this before, MCU, when they let Netflix take control, you felt the whole thing of someone can get lost. MCU has a tendency of not wanting to lose their characters because they're so loved that we don't see it that much. You know what I mean?
This is my thought process on that, and I know this is just like me saying things again. But I think that the reason for this show is to so Hawkeye was supposed to kill himself to save the world, which people were like, wow, this guy was willing to kill himself to save the world. And then the thing with Black Widow killed herself. So now there's a little bit of love towards him. This show put him in the forefront to make sure people like him so that when they have to kill somebody next, it's going to be him. So this way there's actual like a crowd of people that care about this character. We've made you care about this character on purpose. Yeah. So now, because he is an expendable character in the Marvel universe. Yep. So when somebody dies next, I have a really strong feeling it's going to be him.
Yeah, this show acted like a passing the torch. I used to be Hawkeye, now you're Hawkeye, so you're going to continue the mantra moving forward.
Yeah, and her run is when there's the next big event, I think everybody's going to be in it. But as for the world that we live in now, none of these characters are going to get movies. They're all going to be TV forever. And then you're going to have your movie guys. And they need Hawkeye in the movies, but they needed a way to make Kate Bishop and also run a Hawkeye series. And now you have that. And now you can use Yelena anytime you want because her and Haley Steinfeld have insane chemistry together.
Yeah, they have a great dynamic, those two.
And there's also still the connection between Hawkeye's wife. Remember, she actually plays crap.
Yeah, okay. So when somebody explain this to me, I need help. So I was on board from the start, but when I watch it today, I completely forgot what the watch is about.
Okay, go ahead.
The watch was hers. If you look at the end, at the final episode, there, one of the last scenes, there's a Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. logo on the back of the watch with number 19. 19 is Mockingbird's.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Call number.
Yeah.
So she was probably a version, not Bobby Morse, because in the comic, Hawkeye marries Bobby Morse, Mockingbird, right? But Bobby Morse in this universe, I guess, doesn't exist, or I don't know if Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon or not.
That's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, no, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No, it's no longer canon. Kevin Feige said it's no longer canon, and they're revamping that whole story with her.
It could be a different timeline. Like it now with Kang splitting all the timelines and all this happening with the multiverse, it could be in another universe.
I don't like that. I think that when you created Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with the intention of having it be a continuation of the movies with characters from the movies,
Agent Coulson, Sam Jackson, Sif from Thor.
You watch over that. That's one of your babies, and you take care of what's happening. Instead, now you're taking the Netflix shows that you said, forget these, they're garbage, and now you're starting to intertwine them with what's happening in the MCU, and now you're saying the shows that you made don't count anymore? How stupid is that?
I think that's the whole excuse for the multiverse, is so they can do that.
Yeah, but this is...
But it just seems stupid. They put so much effort into making Coulson important and building Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and now you're just going to say, no, that show doesn't
count
anymore.
Bringing them back to life.
But that's another reason why I feel like another thing that's just recently happened is a part of why they're doing that is because they can take what people love, because again, Linda Cardellini is very well loved in the world, between not even just us, just in general in the MCU.
The whole inside joke with Linda Cardellini with us.
But Linda Cardellini playing that role as Mockingbird would be an amazing thing. People would love it, especially the connection between Hawkeye.
And that's completely fair. But I just think, in the grand scheme of things, there has to be a callback to what's wrong with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. somewhere in this show, or else you ruined 7 seasons of a show. Jamie Reyes better make an appearance at some point, because he was the best part of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Ghost Rider. It's like,
I just Splinter. It's just a matter of Splinter, just like JD said. This gives them the whole using of the multiverse through all these series, through all these movies and everything else, are just their way of saying, okay, we kind of screwed up in the past, but luckily, because the multiverse exists, we can fix it and make it right.
Because they can take that and say that scene where Loki grabs the Tesseract and he created that Splinter event and he created a variant of himself. How do you know the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series is not another Splinter off that Nexus event? Because that show takes place right after the Battle of New York.
Hey, hold on. Sorry. I had to Google it because I knew I said something wrong. It's Robbie Reyes. Jamie Reyes is Blue Beetle.
Yes.
Correct.
But that, going back to what I was saying, like, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. takes place right after the Battle of New York. So how do you know that's not another Splinter Nexus event that happened and created a completely separate timeline?
That's possible, but I want them to
still have Sam Jackson. But you still, that's why you still have Sam Jackson. You still have Jamie Alexander, a Sif in the show. You still have Coulson, who's still part of that.
Basically, would you say if Coulson didn't die, that's where Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes from?
Exactly.
And if he does die, we have the movie universe.
That's the movie universe.
And think about Loki. When the Loki series happens, he splinters off when he remember that was actual change. So like there's so many splinters that they literally can't say that Tesseract moment is what the first time things started splitting out, and like the Times Variance Society and things of that nature, everything just started going crazy.
Yeah, that's the catalyst point. That's the breaking point of all the separate Nexus events.
But of course, they kept on trying to keep it closed and keep it contained. So that's why they brought in the Lokis and keep doing that. But there's just a moment where it's like, no, we're not. This is not going to happen. You can't stop fate from happening.
I would have loved a Loki moment or two where they went through a universe and ended up at Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Loki saw Coulson and was like, "Aren't you dead?" Or
I thought I killed you. Yeah.
Or he went through another one and ended up in the what are they called? Black Bolt and
the Inhumans.
The Inhumans.
I was like, "Oh, this sucks," and he walked in and was like, "Oh, this sucks," and he left. That would have been hilarious. Missed opportunities, Loki.
Yeah. But again, like I said, that's another thing that I think that even MCU and Disney are trying to do is that they're trying to basically say, listen, because of the multiverse existing, you can literally take any Marvel universe now and say it's part of it. So that way, what you love is still there, but we don't have to actually recognize it, but we can pull from it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, we take little pieces of there and they just go multiverse.
Yeah, exactly. So, for example, they could be like, I don't know, they could go, even if they wanted to, they could take what's her name from The Gifted and that played Blink, because I thought she played a great Blink, and be like, oh, now she's in this one. Well, how the heck did she get here? Multiverse, you know what I mean? Like, that's my point.
This is a funny thing that you said this, and you see how they've made it now. Like we said, the reasoning behind WandaVision and Loki, and then the Spider-Man movie, what we saw was showing dummies how the multiverse is going to work. So now you could just say that, multiverse. And this is something, after all of this, there's all these people online today I was watching complain, because you know how Michael Keaton is now in Batman. He's in the Batgirl movie.
Yeah.
So people are complaining. He's in the Batgirl movie now too, buddy. He just signed for it.
Oh, really?
So, but people are complaining that, how do you explain this away? He's a completely different Batman than Ben Affleck. I'm like, bro, are you dumb? It's the multiverse.
Yeah, even DC has their own multiverse.
That's the point. I think that's
now I want to see a Batman Beyond movie with Michael Keaton as Old Man Batman.
And I think it's going to happen. I think that's going to happen.
I would love to see that.
I think DC has realized, just give the fans what they want and stop wasting time with the universe movies, because they can do their own acclaim.
Yeah, because basically the Flash movie, it's going to be the multiverse of DC, where he's going to alter reality.
Point. Yep, exactly.
Hell, bring back Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Thomas Wayne and put him as.
And guess what? They're definitely going to do. They're not going to explain any of it. It's just going to happen.
Here you go. Oh, let's get Zack Snyder to direct.
Okay, but see, that's where DC I feel like is going to flaw. They're going to do exactly where they messed up and everything else. They're not.
But that's what Putty. That's our point. That's what they're known for. They're going to goof it.
Yeah.
But
and so MCU is doing a good job. But even though there is a little bit of flubs, we're not at that point where people are like, "Oh, I understand what the
cohesive storytelling is better in the MCU." But like we just pointed out, they're so willing to put years of effort into something just to be like that never happened.
Yeah, true.
Just to fix their own mistakes. Anyways, listen, we're running out of time here.
Oh yeah.
We can talk more about it, guys. There's going to be an episode coming out right after this where we're going to rank the 5 Disney shows that are currently on Disney Plus. So look out for that. That's coming. Like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about Hawkeye in the comments. Subscribe to these 2 guys and party on.
Party on, Wayne. Party on.